Greetings, YouTube. It's your favorite DM Fish Suit here, and I'm hoping I'm pointing the right way. That's my buddy Vlor over there. Good Vlorning.
Hey.
The reason I was late to start the show today is because I was thinking of that joke.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to
It took that
Unconscious
long.
and Dying, the D&D Recap Podcast, Episode 5. We're already losing our live Twitch audience. This is streamed live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/fishsuit. We're just looking at our YouTube page here. We are 17 subscribers away from our very own custom URL, and I, for one, am excited to snag that custom URL so we can finally say it's just Twitch or youtube.com/fishsuit. So excited for that. Thank you guys if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you if you're watching it here live on Twitch. What we do is we go and we recap the two latest episodes of our live streamed actual play live podcasts, live sessions. What am I trying to say, Flora? What do we do? What's happening?
We played games.
I played a game. I played a game on Twitches. We have currently we're playing two sessions, two different campaigns on our Twitch channel. The first is what you see in front of you here, Lost Mine of Phandelver, and we'll cover that one first. And we're also playing the brand new 5e adventure Rime of the Frost Maiden, also here on my Twitch. So,
Yeah.
and what we
Frost
do is we go
Maidens.
on this podcast, we go through and we talk about our most current session, and we try to catch people up. If you are interested in catching up with the story thus far, we have the 4 other episodes of Unconscious and Dying right here on YouTube. And also you can watch the actual campaign sessions themselves, which are all up here on YouTube. We were just talking a little bit before the podcast started. I think there's probably over 50 hours of D&D content on the YouTube now. So we are really cranking it out. And I know right after the show, Laura's also going to be cranking it out. So that's you can subscribe to his OnlyFans for that.
I had a lot of coffee.
Without further ado, let's start talking about our latest episode, the Lost Mine of Phandelver. When we last left Lost Mine, you guys had returned to Phandalin and were in the midst of a fight with some gnolls. And that fight was looking a little squirrely. It was, I think your bard, Gamer Bardwin, was unconscious and dying. I said the thing.
Hey, you said the thing.
We should. I think we talked about last time. It's something that flashed up on the screen every time I said it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But you were fighting this like big demonic gnoll, and that we started right in the middle. This session started right in the middle of that combat, and unfortunately, that meant for about the first, I don't know, hour of our session last time, Gamer Bardwin, our good friend Gamer Heron, was just sitting there kind of watching the action because she was unconscious and well, not dying the entire time, but definitely unconscious the whole fight.
Yeah, I think I stabilized her.
You did. I believe you used your medicine kit, maybe for the first time. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had that thing since since Badger Eye buried those guys in the walkway. But I've been looking for any opportunity to use it, and we've just got some heals, so we never needed to use it. So
yeah, I feel like the party has sort of adapted to your composition in a lot of ways, where it's like, all right, we don't really have a tank, but so we're gonna have a lot of our spellcasters focus on healing while Droop gets in there and does the dirty work. Not to say that Azrael, our monk, is a slouch, but I mean, and it played out in this fight certainly, where Droop literally killed 3 of the 5 combatants that were left in this combat, or maybe even more, perhaps even 4.
like one-shotting most of them.
Yeah, it was like a single turn, and these guys are like I said, these guys are no slouches either. So you fought 3 different gnolls here, and just again, we use this podcast as an opportunity to sort of take a peek behind the DM screen. Is that this whole section is not in the adventure at all. This is everything that happened since you returned to Phandelver. This is all homebrew. There's no gnolls whatsoever in the original Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign. Um,
Well, I think you did a great job with that. It seemed pretty seamless. I know that when we were in the castle, um, the goblins did say something about um, others that were visiting. I think they said the gnolls
yep.
at that point.
Yeah, so
I
that's
don't
where I
know if that
planted
was.
the seed. That's something that you guys might
Oh,
run into this. And I honestly, I hadn't really. You never know what your players are going to do, right? I didn't know that if you guys were going to return to Phandalin. I didn't know what you guys were going to do. This fight didn't necessarily have to happen there, but I was going to have you guys run into the gnolls at some point, um, because clearly, like that was going to be the way to get to. Um, that was going to be the way to get to the Wave Echo Cave, the titular
yeah.
lost mine. So yeah, it worked out. This is, I read a lot of Reddit and
Mhm.
DM guides and things like that, and so I've read a lot of stuff that had to do with kind of spicing up Lost Mine a little bit.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that was suggested was some sort of a Knoll siege on Phandalin, and so I kind of took that idea and adapted it to this, and that gave you the the key to how to get to Wave Echo Cave, how to sort of start the final leg of this adventure. I think in the original adventure, the map is just in Cragmaw Castle. I think you if you search Cragmaw Castle, you find the map. You find Gundren's map.
Oh, so that's why we didn't find it.
Yeah, you
You
couldn't
took it
find it.
out.
Yeah, I took it out. I took it out because I was like, well, why would the map be? Here's in my head, right? And this is just like I would not call this a spoiler at all because I think you guys can assume that the Black Spider is in Wave Echo Cave somewhere. I think you've actually explicitly been told that.
Yeah, all the way in the back.
In my mind, how is the Black Spider in Wave Echo Cave if he never had the map on how to get there? That doesn't make any sense to me. And so
Yeah,
I
and
said that the Knolls went to Cragmaw Castle, got the map, delivered it to the Black Spider, who then went to Wave Echo Cave because he had the map. And before he had the map, if the map is in Cragmaw Castle, how did the Black Spider even know how to get there? And if the Black Spider went to Cragmaw Castle, wouldn't he have taken the map with him too? Like, oh, okay,
yeah,
thanks, I memorized this. I'm gonna go to Wave Echo. You know what I mean? That just doesn't make any sense to me. And so, I tried to
yeah,
make it make a little bit more sense just for me personally.
yeah. Well, I mean, wasn't the point of them getting the map that they wanted to find Wave Echo Cave?
Yes,
Um,
yeah, that's why they waylaid.
so,
That's why they originally captured Sildar and Gundren in the first place. Is that they needed to find a way to Wave Echo Cave because they knew that he had the map, and so the goblins capture Gundren and Sildar. They get the map. They deliver the map to Cragmaw Castle to King Grawl. Then King Grawl in our story, then King Grawl gives the map to the Knolls who deliver it to the Black Spider, and then that's when the Black Spider knows where Wave Echo Cave is, and he can then go to the cave. In the original adventure, the goblins capture Sildar and Gundren. They take them to Cragmaw hideout. They take Sildar there. Then they take Gundren to the Cragmaw castle, and then the map is there. It's like, well, how did the Black Spider ever know how to get to Wave Echo Cave then? That doesn't make any sense. So, so yeah, I started planting the seeds
yeah,
that you guys might run into these gnolls. This made sense to me more than the way they had it originally, and I think it was really fun the way that it kind of played out as well.
yeah.
Um, I wasn't sure what was going to happen if you didn't charm person or otherwise, because you were kind of like, well, before we get into that, I'm just taking a look at their stat block. I've had it up here for a bit. So these guys are, like I said, they're 22 HP. Droop was one-shotting these dudes.
Yeah.
They are not the most powerful thing. I mean, this is a CR 1/2. You fought quite a few of them.
Yeah.
That's a regular base Knoll. The demonic Knoll that you saw, I don't think you guys ever saw a picture of him, but this is him. This is the Knoll
Oh,
Fang
wow.
of Yinahu.
He looks pretty badass.
Yeah, pretty badass. I really like him too. That's a CR4 creature, so he's
Oh,
like
wow.
not a pushover. Um, I think that if you guys had, there was, I think that everybody successfully saved against this bite attack, which has a poison piece to it. Um, the every time the bite hit, I believe that the DC 12 con save was hit, and so they didn't take that extra 2d6. But that really starts to add up, that 2d6
Yeah.
poison damage. That's most of that bite attack, to be honest. But this guy gets 3 attacks. He's pretty nasty, pretty badass looking dude. And then the one that sort of a halfway point here was the Knoll Pack Lord. And this is the guy that was firing arrows up on top of one of these houses. And this is the guy that ultimately you stabilized before he permanently died. And this is the guy that you tortured. He's a CR2.
Randy?
Yes, Randy. I don't know why. I don't know why I gave him a name. I think he almost critically fumbled at one point because I gave him a name.
That was amazing.
He had a name tag that says his name was Randy. But you guys pretty much, I mean, with the exception of Gamer Heroine, Gamer Bardowin's taking really just a shitload of damage from the Knoll Fang, like demonic Knoll.
Mm-hmm.
This fight was not that difficult for you guys. It was really just a matter of getting through the rounds, surviving through the rounds, and then letting Droop, stab away.
Yeah.
So the last guy to die was that Knoll Pack Lord, and you guys, Randy, and you guys stabilized him. I believe you stabilized him using your medicine kit again. You just had so much fun using the medicine kit the first time you stabilized.
Well, I mean, we needed to get information, and I don't think anyone really thought about it. But as soon as he went down, I was like, crap, we need information. And he seems like the next viable person who would have it, so
yeah,
had to stabilize him.
I feel like the session before this, you had even said like, we need to have one of these guys alive. Like we need somebody. One of these guys needs to survive this. So you get him. You find the basically the town has been tied up. The only thing that really didn't, the only thing that was just sort of like, I was like, oh god, please don't spend too much time thinking about why Sildar is such a shitty fighter and he got tied up too. But yeah, the whole town is basically tied up. We re-met some of our favorite characters. I got the fun ability or the fun chance to remember how I did some of the voices that I did like 7 months ago. The whole town was had been sort of held hostage here, but nobody was dead except for Darren Edermath, which was cool.
Yeah. I just have to say I am super surprised that Carp is not dead.
Yes, Carp, the little halfling child that Gamer Heroine armed way back when, and nearly got when Gamer Heroine nearly got a child killed in our campaign.
I feel like he would have grabbed something and ran after like the biggest one.
So you give Sildar his shit back. You tell him to go pick up Gundren. Go grab Gundren. He's out in the bacon apple orchard. And he leaves, and you start to torture this. You guys get a short rest. The Knoll Pack Lord comes back to life. Randy comes back to life. And you start to torture him. And he's basically like, whatever punishment you inflict on me is going to pale in comparison to what the Black Spider does to me. So kill me. Kill me fast, kill me slow, it doesn't matter. If I give up the Black Spider, he's going to kill me. If I don't, you're going to kill me. So what's the difference? And you're like, okay, all right, well, I'll keep torturing you then. And I think he pulled out one of his teeth.
Yeah, because I got the rusty tongs.
Where were those from?
I think those were from Thunder Tree.
Okay. Oh, right, because they were at like the blacksmith's, like abandoned blacksmith's hut or whatever.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm a collector. You never know when those things are going to come in handy.
For sure. No, like you probably have some dragon teeth in your inventory. There's probably a few heads
Yeah,
from
yeah,
various
some
monsters.
scales, dragon
Yep.
scales.
But he's not giving it up. But your bard comes in and casts a couple of charm persons. The second one worked. I always feel a little bit weird about offering a second chance for that, but that's literally a spell slot. So I mean, I didn't really see an issue with allowing her a second chance at it. It's not like she, you know what I mean? It's not like she couldn't do it. The mechanics
Yeah,
of the game allow for it, so I didn't see why that would be a problem to allow a second charm person, which that one actually stuck. Um, and just like thematically, you can say like you can see, he has the wherewithal to resist the first charm person spell. It shakes it off, but then the relentlessness of the second one gets him. But she does charm person, and he gives up the ghost. I mean, he gives you everything. He tells you where the entrance to the cave is, which is really close to where you guys are. I mean, it's like super close, super duper close to Fangolin. You've walked past it. I mean, really, you've walked
yeah,
past the area where it's been. Um,
yeah.
so he gives you that. He tells you what he knows about Wave Echo Cave, which is not much because he's only really been like inside the very start of of where the entrance is, and so he can't really tell you. He knows that there's the black spider has not been there for long. You know that the black spider is a sorcerer of some kind, a very powerful magic user. And you know that there's some parts of Wave Echo Cave that are not tamed, so you can reasonably assume that there's going to be some, monsters and things like that in there that aren't part of this coordinated effort from the Black Spider. Tells you, and he tells you where all that is, and he's like super friendly about it. He's like, he's like, you guys are cool. You guys are really enjoy hanging out with you guys. Sildar comes back, and you're like, "Hey, Sildar, can you take this guy back and give him some of that? Give him some of that Phandalin. What's the word I'm looking for? Hospitality."
Well, I told him because he was still like thinking that we were cool and all. I told him, "Oh, we're just gonna go get you cleaned up. Still dark. Can you take this guy to go get cleaned up?"
And
And I'm
Sildar.
assuming
So can you see this
Sildar
moment
was
in your head
probably
as
like,
clearly as I can? Because for the first time, you're
"Yes,
probably seeing Sildar as a warrior. He's now,
yeah,
because you guys brought back his sword and his armor, and he was just kind of, it was just kind of pieced together at that point. He was just not whole, and now he has his shiny armor and his sword, and he looks for the first time like this person who you kind of assumed that he was. I can definitely see this moment where he returns with Gundren, and he has that sparkle back in his eye where it's like he is Sildar Hallwinter. You know what I mean?
yep, yep."
So yeah, he takes Randy out back and finishes him off camera, as it were.
Yeah, I imagine him saying, "Oh, I'll get him cleaned up, or I'll clean this up," or
Yeah, like
something
there's
like
this sort
that.
of almost like, yeah, this is understanding where he understands what he's gonna go do, and I think he even returned a few minutes later and was wiping the blood off of his sword or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, the so we talked about a few things. I mean, ultimately you guys get a long rest, recover all of your spells, preparing now for your journey to Wave Echo Cave. And I should say that this was another short session. This was another half session because our buddy Jackson stepped in for Cunning Fox. Cunning Fox's droop, a hashtag guest droop for this. So this is a short 2-hour session. But we spent a little bit of time talking about these two factions of Faerun. The first was
yeah,
that the Sister Gorele had previously offered Gamer Barduin sort of entry into the Harpers. And still on fire.
It's still on fire. Man, ever burning talent.
Those tiresome skunks. The Harpers,
Canon.
I think, are one of the coolest sort of factions in 5e. This kind of secretive organization for good. And when first offered, Gamer Heroine, just the player, didn't really know what the Harpers was, and so she was kind of like, I don't know. And then she went and right after the session and did a bunch of research on the Harper and was like, fuck, I should have said yes. I want to be in the Harpers. But she said she'd think about it, and so this is basically the next time you guys are, since then, that you guys are back here in Phandalin, and she accepted entry into the Harpers, and we talked a little bit about them. And then you went over to Darren Ettermath's house, and started to go through some of his stuff and trying to learn more about him and the Order of the Gauntlet. And you did end up finding like a journal. What is your recollection of what was in the journal, and then what we talked about as far as the Order of the Gauntlet?
So the main thing, and I actually wrote some stuff down here.
Paper towels, toilet paper.
Yeah.
Ketchup. Oh, I'm sorry. This is my grocery list.
Oh, actually, it's the paper from the other campaign. I remember there was a name in particular that kept popping up. I can't remember the name though.
Sky.
Yeah. Honestly, what I was really enthralled about was like, was there any information about where I could find this person, and like, how do I, find more information, because I wanted to know what this was about. I mean, he spent his dying breath handing me this pin, this symbol, and I was more concerned about that at the time.
Yeah, so this name kept popping up, Sky, and you think that maybe that the starting place to search for this person might be in Waterdeep. Those are the two pieces of information you got.
That's right.
It was a sort of an adventuring companion of his, and so you found this book with like a bunch of his notes about adventures that he'd been on. And then you also, as you're reading this, started to remember more and more about the Order of the Gauntlet. Now, some of this is baked into the actual campaign. Some of this is not. Darren Ettermath's motivation in this campaign is definitely to find somebody who exemplifies things about the Order of the Gauntlet and to invite them into the fold, essentially. He had started, I think, the first time you met this character, he was really interested in Arlen joining that because he was a paladin.
Yeah.
And then I can't really remember what happened to Arlen. I think he must have he got distracted, wandered off. And Arlen died. And then I honestly had forgotten about this piece of lore. I really had forgotten about this whole this. I mean, I knew, obviously, I remembered him as a character. I knew what some of his motivations were in the campaign. But I had forgotten what the Order of the Gauntlet was. I forgot that really he was searching for somebody to join the Order of the Gauntlet. When you guys got back to Phandalin here, it was a happy accident that you went to his house. And a lot of this stuff was me just remembering on the fly all of these things. But even then, I didn't really have a deep understanding of the Order of the Gauntlet. And when we went through last session and read through some of the stuff, the beliefs of the Order of the Gauntlet, I was like, my God, we couldn't have planned it better. I mean, we could not have planned it better. It was just, and a lot of that, like I said, is just like a happy accident. I mean, we're talking about ending evil without question. Like, it's evil, I kill it. And if any of our characters exemplify that, in this campaign. It's yours. And he's the
Yeah.
one who ends up like, basically being like taking the mantle from Darren Edermath and saying, I am this force against evil. It's like, I was
Yeah.
really, really happy with how that all turned out. And a lot of it was just like, it just kind of fell into our laps.
Yeah, just dumb luck. And that's one of the beauties about D&D and doing some of those improv moments. You have those happy accidents where they click. I mean, what was the odds of me or Azrael being the one to get to his place first?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, and without really understanding what the gauntlet was, and just being that embodiment, really, it was amazing.
Yeah, like I said, it's just it's one of those things that added so much to the narrative. Things are starting to, like, this is the apex of our story, so things are starting to really, all the narrative, all the threads are starting to connect back, and we are about to finish this story, and I think we couldn't be in a better place for it. You
Yeah.
guys finally head off to Wave Echo Cave. Um, and you make it into the very entrance of Wave Echo Cave, and you see a dead dwarf there, and you know that it's one of Gundren's brothers. One of Gundren's brothers! Uh, you're not sure which one, but one of them, but they were both here, so there's one dead, dwarf. He has a nice wondrous item on him, and Droop is starting to have a little wondrous item collection here. He's definitely the guy you have loaded down with some of these great items. Boots of springing and striding, I believe.
Great weapons.
And he also has like another, I don't know, the alertness rod, whatever, rod of alertness. So, oh, they're here to get me.
um I've got a couple of items. I took the rod, the glass rod, because it gave a bonus to the AC.
That's right. You have
um
glass staff, and you also we talked about an item that you guys have had for quite some time that had some magical properties that you didn't know about. It was an axe. Jesus,
mhm.
there is like some kind of emergency outside the house here. Um, and so you found out about, it's a Hugh. You found out about a Hugh the axe. Now, did you decide to wield that axe? I know that you were kind of goofing around with it and see if it would actually work for you.
Yeah, I can use it. It's not as great with the to hit, as the others, but I'm pretty sure that monks have proficiency with martial weapons.
Yeah. So
So I can use it. It's decent. Plus, it's a door destroyer. So
yes, it's a door destroying legacy weapon.
yeah, it's also a plant slayer. So whenever I go trudging through the forest like wood elves do, um, I don't have to worry about the weeds.
It's true, but it does give you an uneasy feeling, that axe.
Yeah,
This is
well,
an axe that they found in Thunder Tree that they had not identified, and basically until this last session, because I, as the DM, I'm trying to wrap up some loose threads that I've left out there as well. So you make it into this cave. There's like a hole in the floor that leads down into the cave itself. You guys get down into there, and Droop finds a crumpled up note.
yes.
And as I read the note, you come to understand that it is a note written by Gamer Bardowin, to Fella. And just for lore's sake, Gamer Bardowin gave this note to Redoth when Redoth left Thunder Tree in search of Fella after she ran off after you slayed the dragon. So Gamer Bardowin writes this note, gives it to Redoth, and then Redoth is gone. And then we went on our side quest session, which we did for about 4 weeks
Yeah.
in the summer. And so as Gamer Heroine said, maybe after the session, or maybe she said at the very end, you now know that either Redoth or Fella is here. Maybe both.
Yeah. You know, there's like a whole bunch of things about the note. First, it's crumpled up and just like tossed.
Mm-hmm.
So it really leads you to believe that it's Fella that's here because, I mean, Redoff's not going to crumple up the note and toss it out.
Right.
If there was any other items, maybe it's Redoff and he was captured and they were just going through his stuff and just tossing out a couple of things. But it's fun to speculate and analyze
Yeah,
and stuff like
you
that.
guys don't have any idea really. So I thought that was a really fun way to end it. And Gamer Heroine had spent the time many months ago putting that together, and probably at this point thought like, he's never going to use this,
Yeah.
But you get here, and that the plot thickens a little bit, and that's where we ended our session, right here in the very mouth of the very beginning of Wave Echo Cave. So.
And we got her real name.
That's right, Gamer Halflingowin, Halflingowin, which let's just move right on. Let's go talk about our sad Novlore. We're done.
Apparently, they didn't have the same father, so
we're done. Let's go talk about our second campaign, which we're going to be playing actually tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow is a D&D day here on the stream. So if you're out there watching the podcast right now, we'll be live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a little bit of Rime of the Frost Maiden. Our second campaign, of course, Rime of the Frost Maiden, and we started this campaign in... Gosh, I feel like it's been about 8 years since we played this game last, Floor. Does it feel that way to you? Holy cow.
Yes, I am really enjoying this one. I don't have a character that's lame as far as stats go, so I'm really enjoying this one. The role play is really good. I'm really enjoying it.
I am too, and it's has a definitely like a completely different feel of Lost Mind from our other campaign that we're playing. It just feels very different. Not to say that one is better than the other, because I'm having fun in both. It's just like a really different experience in this game. This Rime of the Frostmaiden was pitched as sort of like having the Shining feel to it. And after having spent 5 or so hours now in this, what is session 7? So, or 7 episodes. So yeah, I mean we're like nearing the 15-hour mark. In Rime now, which is crazy to think about. Honestly, feels like we haven't been playing it that long, but D&D kind of just happens, doesn't it? Like that.
Yeah.
It definitely. I'm starting to get some of those horror vibes to it, and I feel like you guys as characters are reacting in that way as well, where you're like, this is not all sunshine and rainbows. Like we know there's some really dangerous stuff happening.
Well, we actually know that there's no sunshine and no rainbows.
Well, maybe rainbows. Maybe rainbows. Started up here in Bryn Shander. Yeah, like I said, it seems like it's been quite some time since we played this, but from my recollection, this Cleo wanted to get some more warm weather gear, so she tried to go get some. I think she had a pretty poor roll on trying to get some discounts on some more cold weather gear up here. You guys again have like a lot of different starts of a lot of different quests to go out on, but the one that you'd kind of landed on was to head down to Dugan's Hole to see if you could
poke around for a bit.
See if you could poke around Dugan's Hole. There was some winter wolves down there, some giant wolves that you'd heard a rumor about. The first thing you did though here was stop in the House of the Morning Lord. Looked like a mansion that maybe had been converted into a church. And you spent a little bit of time here. I think that you interacted with the priest. What do you recall about this specifically, Vlor?
I believe it was a lady priest.
It was.
and you know, I went in there to get some info to see about my patron, the Thunderlord or Stormlord. Um, but of course, she didn't hear anything. I got some holy water, and I think maybe some holy oil. Um, can't remember. I know I believe she offered to bless some oil, but then she talked about the sacrifices and um, the big thing that got me was um, Gusto, saying, "Well, don't worry, there's going to be a cleric to come and help." Trying to give some kind of um, hope, and the wonderful Miss Cleo, I guess, took it as a pickup line and was like, "Yeah, okay."
The definitely, I think, like the breakout relationship in our young campaign is this dynamic between Cleo and Gusto, which I absolutely love. Like, I love it. It's so good. There's definitely like the character development is very young in this campaign. Like I said, we've only been playing for 15 hours, and this campaign is like 150 hours long, probably when we're all said and done. But this early relationship between these two is interesting to me. It's interesting. It's funny, and I'm excited to see how the two characters develop as they move through the adventure. Um, it's great, and she's playing it really well, and you're playing it really well, and like it's just I really like it a lot. Yes, you met this priest. Her name is Michonne. You had, and I think that Zund as Kindar, your tiefling scientist. I think that he's trying to really. He has spent a lot of time interacting with townsfolk and people in bars and being like, what is your take on this? What do you think is happening? What's going on? Why is it always, why is this eternal night happening? And I think that's, I don't think that's advanced the story very much, because really these people are as clueless as you guys are. But I really like that from a roleplay perspective, because that's exactly what you would do. You would ask everybody and their mother what you thought was happening. What they thought was happening, in case they had some kind of a clue as to why this was all going on. She believes pretty much what everybody else believes. They've come out of favor of the Morning Lord. That's what she thinks. Amunator has lost favor for Icewind Dale, and then they're being punished in this way. She doesn't agree with the human sacrifice. I think that Gusto had talked to her about that specifically, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not in charge here. If I say that I'm against it, that's fine, but it's not going to change the fact that I can't lay my life down.
She could.
Oh, she could, but what good is it going to do?
Yeah.
So she, you guys head in there, get a little bit of holy water, and hit the road, heading down to, well, what you thought was going to be Dugan's Hole. And so this is a great part of DMing these campaigns, is a great / awful part of DMing a sandbox like this is I have no fucking idea what you guys are going to do.
I've got no idea.
I got no... There's no goblins here, Vlora. Settle down.
That's a good thing.
I have to be prepared for any of 6 scenarios of things that you guys are going to do, right?
Yeah.
You guys could get into... Because in order to get... As you can see from the map, in order to get into Dugan's Hole, you have to get through Goodmead.
That is so true. You have to get through some good meat first.
Loosens it up. So, are you guys going to stop in Goodmead? Because there's mystery in Goodmead. Are you guys going to stop in Goodmead? Or are you just going to cruise right through, head right into Dugan's Hole? So I have to be prepared for not only what happens in Dugan's Hole, but I have to be prepared for everything that happens in Goodmead. And then, I don't know, you get here and you're like, fuck it, let's go to East Haven. Or, whatever. Let's go back up to Karakonig. And I have to be prepared for all that. That's not a complaint so much as it's just saying, like,
Yeah.
I never know what's going to happen. Like, a lot of people, say, like, a lot of DMs sort of put up these invisible walls to corral their characters into one course of action. And I've definitely done that before. I'm not saying that I haven't, but just to show that, like, I was prepared for any of, like, 4 different scenarios for this. Like, I really allowed you guys to do whatever you wanted to do. So you do get down here to into Goodmead.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I was absolutely giddy.
What was the travel time?
Travel time from Bryn Shander to Goodmead was 6 hours.
Okay.
And you spend maybe an hour or so farting around in the morning in Bryn Shander. You went to a couple places. You went to the House of the Morning Lord. So, it was pretty late in the day at this point, but also the day is sort of always night. So,
yeah. Who can really tell?
You got into the outskirts of Goodmead, saw what you surmised was like a makeshift barricade of some kind. You also heard this droning buzz.
When it came to that barricade, I imagined that it was just a single 4 or 5 foot long piece of, like, something that they threw together because they don't really have a whole lot, and they're like, this'll help.
Yeah, so, like, the way I imagined it in my head was like an overturned wagon with some like spikes attached to the outside, and then, like, I mean, it's not literally you guys walked around
it. yeah. I was like, oh, isn't that sweet?
And you guys got around it, and then you heard this buzzing, this droning, and I think that you thought that these people run under some sort of mind flayer, mind control. You asked me specifically, like, do the people look like they're just, like, walking around in a daze?
Yeah, well, you never know whenever you hear sounds like that it could be some kind of mind manipulation or something like that, because the constant droning of a sound can really weigh on you.
Yeah, that's what people say about the stream as well, Laura.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Lull them into a sense of comfort, and
and then strike.
They keep returning. That's the best way.
You hear that the buzzing is coming from this giant hall in the middle of town, and when you open it up, you see something that I can see in my mind's eye so clearly. And I really just, I even said to you guys in our DM conversation afterwards, like, I can see this moment in my head when you open up this mead hall, and you see all of this beehives and stuff. Like, they are producing honey in this giant building, and there are just countless bees and people working, and it's like multi-story, and there's ladders going up to the hives, and there's people collecting honey, and there's huge tables where the meat is being served, and people are vats in the back where they're putting the honey for fermentation. Hamad, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Fish Tank. Welcome to Unconscious and Dying, our D&D recap podcast. Book Fairy says in chat, I love this place, and I absolutely did too. I was, like I said, giddy with excitement that you guys would actually look in here and be in this in this hall.
Yeah, I was pretty amazed by it. The image that I had in my head was basically vaulted ceilings, but then honeycomb, like, all through the rafters.
Yeah.
And it thinking about the honey just dripping onto people was kind of funny. Um,
It's like raining honey inside.
yeah, but it to be able to see that, I make mead. I
That's right.
I
You've
know what
made
they're
mead before.
and the fact that they have their own bees for the honey is just amazing to me. That they put that much detail into it, and the fact that in such a cold place like this, you've got to have heat for the bees.
Right.
So it's really intricate on how they put this together, just so that they could make mead,
Yeah, like that is
in the
the,
game.
and so you guys learned also just from the the layout of the town is that, I mean, right now the this Red Waters is frozen over, so there's like no fishing at all. But Good Mead has been able to stay afloat because, however many 40 years ago, they decided that instead of their economy being based on the knucklehead trout, that they were going to produce mead here, and so they set this place up to to be there, how the town gets by, how the town survives.
Yep.
Um, you met in the mead hall, Olivessa.
Hmm.
Olivessa Untapur. You might not have ever heard her last name, but and she, you guys, I think everybody liked her, and you liked her, or you liked her, and then she liked you guys.
Yep.
You got yourself a little bit of honey. Cleo stole herself a little bit of honey.
A lot of bit of honey.
Yeah, like a jar full of honey.
Yeah,
I think
that's a
that, and then
lot.
I think that you guys were like, I think you guys were. I think you were like, "Well, this honey's really expensive," and Olivessa's like, you want to find some fresh honey somewhere else in 10 Towns, honey? Go for it."
Yeah.
Like, because there's nothing. No, we're the only show in town, so if you want something else, go for it. The mead you guys sampled, the mead was really good. Enjoyed that, and then she told you the story of kind of what happened, why you saw the barricade. The town speaker Kendrick Reelsbarrow had tried to defend these three barrels of mead that were stolen by a Verbeeg raider. And you
Hmm.
found out that a Verbeeg was like kind of a half giant, big, gangly, long arms. And he came and just at the right time and stole these three barrels of mead that was basically meant to provide, money and sustenance for the town. They trade it, so that was like 3 months worth of work. And, they're looking at a long, cold few weeks if they can't get this back.
Yeah.
So at this point, you had a decision whether it was going to be a Zune Master out in chat. Yeah. I think so. I described a Verbeeg as like a human being who was turning into a giant, but was like frozen halfway through in this transformation, and and then I think Jackson as Jordy, our barbarian, took that a little literally. He was like, well, he's like a half human, half giant. I was like, no. I was just using that as like a metaphor to like give you guys a good indication of what they look like, because I didn't have any artwork actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's a shame.
but yeah, it's very strange. Like this massive adventure, and they don't have artwork for that particular character. I even tried to look up some, but and maybe it's just they might not have actually, Wizards might not have come up with any official artwork for what a Verbeeg looks like at all, because I couldn't really find anything that I liked. I remember reading some novels about Icewind Dale back in the day, and there were Verbeeg there, so um, it's strange to me that they don't have any artwork for them, but.
Hmm.
But yeah, the town speaker was killed in the attack, and the mead is gone. And can you help us? And so you had a decision at this point. And I think that Kindar wanted to come back, and I think that maybe you were leaning that way too. How did you feel about you come here for one reason and then decide to go off on this other quest?
Well, there was a couple of reasons that Gusto was like, "Yeah, let's help them." Um, Mainly because Kendar, I'm sorry, I'm like spacing here. Kendar was against joining his little merchant setup.
Right.
And needed some brownie points. But as a merchant, the fact that goods have been stolen kind of makes me mad, and the fact that I'm a cleric and there's already all of these people are going to die, basically starve to death,
Right.
because they their livelihood has been taken, basically. So
So it's like the double whammy for your character almost.
yeah, there was just so much, and yes, I wanted to help, but I guess it was more along the lines of how fresh are the tracks, and is it going to be something that we can go ahead and do quickly?
Right. When you first heard about this or saw, realized that this was sort of a side quest, did you anticipate that it was going to be as complicated as it turned out to be, or like did you think this was going to be like a full do you think this was going to be a fight, or do you think this was going to be a dungeon, because it ended up turning into a dungeon?
I got to be honest with you, it didn't turn out to be that difficult, um, as I thought it was going to be.
I don't know, you guys
Um,
almost TPK'd. I mean, we'll get into it, but
yeah, but it wasn't like it didn't take a long time.
no. You
It
guys
went
ended
pretty
up getting
quick.
there pretty quickly. So ultimately you decided, okay, we're going to try to help these people out. We're going to do it right now. We're going
Yeah,
to forego um, Dugan's Hole for now.
yeah.
And
We needed to collect the mead before we can get into Dugan's Hole.
right, we needed mead before hole, except after soup. Um, you head out into the woods. You run into this guy Fef. He is running out of the woods, and he's like, "Holy shit! There's 5 dead people back there. Peace out. Like I'm gone." He's a trapper, and he had like a fox slung over his back.
Yeah.
Um, you guys are like, okay, fine. You track down his steps pretty quickly, and you find the remains of 5 militia members. Looked like they were clubbed to death. New fallen snow is already settled on their corpses.
Yep.
I think that's Kindar, or I don't know. I don't remember who had the successful roll. I think you and Kindar both looked.
Yeah.
Figured out that killed by a large giant. Most of their possessions look like they were taken, and you pretty easily find. I think it maybe was Jordy who was able to find the tracks um, leading into the
Yeah.
Verbeek layer, and so you ultimately make your way to the outskirts of this layer.
Hmm.
You did some other research outside here, and you saw that not only were there tracks of the Verbeek, but there was tracks of an ogre as well. So you kind of knew that there was an ogre around. I think that Cleo went up here and tried to do a little song and dance routine, but I mean, there's an ogre sees and an ogre kills. Like, there's not going to be much middle ground there. An ogre is not something that's going to be reasoned with, really, or
Yeah. I think the main reason for the song and dance was more kind of alluring it out.
rather than going into the into
Yeah.
this place.
That way we can have a little bit of surprise. We're not, bottlenecked in the tunnel, because I'm sure that's what would have happened.
I struggle sometimes as a DM balancing what I know my character wants to happen versus what I think or what is written as is going to happen. And so I always constantly am struggling with, like, clearly I know that I think that she wants to entice this ogre and make him not a combatant anymore. I really think that was a main part
Oh.
of this. I could be wrong. I don't want to. I don't want to speak for Sunflower, and I don't want to speak for what she was trying to do as her character.
Hmm.
Um, but I got the feeling that she was like, I really wanted when combat started, she really wanted something else to happen, or she wanted another action or something like that. And so it's always a struggle as a DM to be like, to try to weigh out what the character wants, or what I believe that they want, versus what I think is actually going to happen. Because at the end of the day, like, I want you guys to be able to explore and do these like kind of maybe off the beaten path type things with your characters. At the same time, I feel like I have a certain narrative way that things are going to play out, that they have to play out in a certain way. And so it's always like weighing those options. But I mean, at the end of the day, this guy's the combat with this guy was not too much. I think he only got one swing in, and it was on Cleo.
Yeah.
But you guys pretty much dealt with him with not many issues.
The biggest thing on that was her song.
Yes, though, yeah. And that song was stuck in my head for like days afterwards, because she sang a version of That's Not My Name by the Ting Tings. They call me Kindar. They call me Cleo. That's not my name. And then she's like, they called me Gusto. And she looked at your character and it was like, that's not my name.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of those role play moments, though. So it's like, she's playing on the fact that she knows my little secret, and I felt it was kind of like a flex. And
Cleo has absolutely been flexing on Gusto for the last 2.5 sessions, for sure. For sure.
And so when she went down later on, it was like, do I help?
Yeah, there's a decision for your character to make there, as far as, I mean,
well, and the real reason to hide the name, this, but there was a bit of a prophecy, and the reason why he's where he is and whatnot, but it did. I feel like Gusto's mother would have told him not to use his real name.
Mm-hmm. And so the fact that she knows is like,
yeah,
kind of concerning to him.
Yeah, he's never used his real name when he was out and about. He's always been Vlor the merchant. So he's worried, because crap. He slipped.
Yep. Yeah, slipped up. Exactly right.
So
okay, so you kill the ogre. You start heading into the cave here, and up here you smell like a terrible smell up in this area. And then down here you peek around the corner, you see a bonfire. It looks like a spit of meat is being roasted over the bonfire, and you see a bunch of goats and sheep in like a pen. Yeah, we're coming up to one of my very favorite parts. One of my very favorite parts of this session.
Mine too.
So you aren't.
Hey, where'd I go?
You aren't super. Oh, sorry. You aren't super sure. Thanks. I'm trying to queue up something here. So.
Oh, hey, there you.
There you are. You aren't super sure what is the deal here, but you do sneak in here, and you. I don't know if maybe it was Kindar mage handing, or somebody snuck in here and was like, opens up the gate. But and maybe this is just from my own personal experience with having been around sheep and goats, like for not, for like more than just like a little bit. Like my family in the Midwest had farms, and so like if you open up a gate with sheep and goats, they just keep on doing whatever they were doing. It's not like they're all like, hey, the gate's open, everybody out. So like there's just kind of still like fucking milling around and stuff here. Which really, and so I think I really think that you guys wanted to just have them be like, we're free,
Yeah.
But instead they're just like chilling.
They're like, oh, it's a gate. I mean, we were. We've got food here.
Yeah, exactly. So some of them are kind of wandering out, and I think that I think that you were trying to get him out, and Kindar is trying to get him out.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like being dumb goats and sheep, you know. Uh, Cleo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Zune Master did some ground tremors, and they're just like, like they're just not doing anything. They're not like there's not like a stampede like I think you guys thought was gonna happen.
Yeah, that's we
So
were hoping for it, but it didn't happen.
Cleo wanders up to this bonfire, slices off a little bit of the meat that is roasting over the fire, and I can't recall exactly what transpired, but there was a loud noise. Somebody made a loud noise or was talking loudly, and ultimately the Verbeeg giant came around the corner, saw that the gates were open to the pen, and said, "My babies!" And combat began. Combat starts. Jordy is way back here. Spends his first turn moving up to about here. And when he gets up to next to the bonfire, he glances over at the bonfire and realizes that the shank of meat that is roasting over the bonfire is a dwarf. And so let me I'm gonna play unconscious and dying. I'm gonna play this. Oh wait, no, that's not the one. Oh, do we not have this clipped? We might not have it clipped. Oh, this is not the clip that I was actually looking for. Okay, so
is that the "You're welcome" clip?
There's a few clips from this session. I'm trying to remember what they are. Since it was a called shop. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
Okay, so I'll play that other one. But so she realizes that this is he realizes this is dwarf meat. And Sunshine's face as Cleo was so priceless during this section. She actually made some really great faces during this. I think we really surprised her a few times. And she's like, "Well, does Cleo know this?" And I'm like, "No, she wouldn't know this yet, you know." So she just like cut off a slice of dwarf and is like, "I'll save this for later." And you're like, I think you were even like, "Please tell me she ate some. Please tell me she ate some." But she actually didn't. She put it in her pack.
That would have been awesome.
This guy was pretty tough. And I had promised you earlier that we were going to talk about the almost TPK that happened because it was very close. It was super duper close. This is the clip from. Here's the clip from when this guy basically like one shot Sunflower, unconscious and dying. Her face. And what do you know? It's your turn. You get to make a death save. Oh, your Sunflower appears as if your camera froze. Oh, no.
Yeah, like for a solid 20 seconds.
Look at her.
Like,
you can see her face.
And
what do you know? It's your turn. You get to make a death save. Your Sunflower appears. She's just like, oh my god. Yeah, this guy basically one-shot Cleo down. So just to give you an idea of how powerful he was.
I mean, he did pretty good damage to Jordy as well.
Yeah, I believe that Jordy was unconscious and dying at some point as well.
You said the thing.
I said the thing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Unconscious and dying. Unconscious and dying. Let's take a look at his.
Somebody add that in.
This is a CR4. I mean, you guys are level 2 characters. This is a CR4 creature. So, and not to mention the fact that you had already fought an ogre.
Mm-hmm.
Before this, so you guys aren't walking into this fight fresh either. I think that Zune Master played this really well, and he's starting to feel his character out a little bit in combat. I mean, to be honest, this is only like the third or fourth like real combat we've had in this adventure, and so you guys are all still learning how you're going to gel together in these combat situations, but certainly Kindar understands that he is not a frontline fighter, and so he is trying to keep his distance at all times and just end up firing off a bunch of I think he used most of his spell slots here, which is again like it's always for a spellcaster. It's always you're weighing out whether you want to pop your spell slots. Is this going to be the last combat I'm in, but of the day or whatever? But
Yeah.
he did a ton of damage. You did a ton of damage, and you got this guy down. You did kill this. You killed this Verbeeg. Um, while Cleo was unconscious and dying, you are you
Oh, you
unconscious?
said it again. You said it again.
Maybe not dying, maybe just unconscious. You went through and you found some loot. There was some loot there, and just because we're running super long on this podcast episode, you guys got a little short rest here, and then decided that maybe you were going to go through and just kind of try to clear out the rest of the cave or take a look through the rest of the cave. And you end up finding 2 of the 3 barrels of mead that were still intact. 1 barrel looked like it had already been consumed. So you found 2 barrels up there. And that's where we ended. That you can see your characters up there around the mead after the benefits of a short rest. And that's where we left it. That's where we left our session, and that's where we'll pick up this session tomorrow. So I'm excited to play this. Like you said, Vlora, I've enjoyed the role play. I've enjoyed the dynamics between the characters, and we're really just starting to dip our toes. We're just starting to get into it. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
I think with both campaigns, they've been really filled with a lot of growth.
Yeah.
Character-wise. In both campaigns.
Yeah, and this campaign being as young as it is, like we've already seen some of that, how the characters have changed and how they're interacting with each other, and I've enjoyed every part of that. So, well, Vlora, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks everybody out there in the chat. Thanks for the follows and stuff. Again, if you guys haven't already, the dropping a sub on YouTube would mean so much. We are really, really close to our 100 subs on YouTube, so we get that custom URL. Guys, until next time, may your 20s be natural.
And your rolls to fart not be natural twos.
Bye!